Today we're going to mix a purple. I'm wondering, have you ever tried to mix a purple and then it came out more like a brown? I'm going to help you solve that. We're going to figure out why that's happening. So I also wanted to share with you guys a special hack, like my most useful color mixing hack that I really haven't seen or heard even when I was in school or on YouTube, anyone teaching about. So stay tuned for that. There are going to be links below for all the products, all the colors, the palette knives, everything that I'm using to mix. And at the end, I'm going to tell you how you can get a downloadable, printable reference sheet for color mixing that'll be very helpful to you. Let's go. Hey, it's Michelle Théberge, and welcome to my channel where we learn not only how to paint, but how to live a creative life. So let's get mixing. So I'm using some of the most commonly used in painting blue and red. There's a cadmium red on the left here and an ultramarine blue on the right. And as you can see, I mix and mix and mix, and I'm not getting purple. Didn't my kindergarten teacher tell me this would make purple? This is so frustrating. Why is this happening? So we're going to show you some better combinations that will give you loads of luscious purples. Everything from plum, lilac, amethyst, eggplant. Let's get started. So we've got here phthalo red, phthalo green, and ultramarine blue. And this is quinacridone crimson. So let's see what these look like together. So in general, I would say when you're first learning mixing is try first to mix equal volume, right? So this is pretty close to the same amount of color, but we're going to learn something just in doing this. So I'm mixing this red and this blue. I'm getting a purple. And I'm going to add some white to it so you can really see the undertone, but you can also do that by scraping it down a little bit to reveal the white palette underneath. So this probably is showing up really dark on the camera, but like underneath, that's called the undertone, you can see the nature of the color. You can also tell if you haven't mixed well because you'll have these little patches of separate color. So I'm going to keep mixing. By the way, this type of palette knife is my preferred palette knife. I will link it below for you. The reason is there's an offset. So when you're holding it, your knuckles aren't going to go dragging in the paint and get dirty. So that's, and also I like a round blade like this, not a tapered blade, not an angled blade. I think this is ideal mixing knife for my taste. So if you're a beginner, you might want to start off with a mixing knife like that. And it has some flex, so you can really press. I liken this to kneading dough. You really want to press down and smash it. I used to see my students and they'd go like this. They'd just kind of be on the surface of the paint. I was like, no, that's not gonna mix the paint. You have to pretend you're kneading dough and you smash it all the way flat to the back of the palette. Now you see there's no traces of red or blue on the under. It's all one consistent color. And actually, I like this purple. It's a very nice kind of typical, oops, do you see that? I didn't mix there. You can see a lot of the phthalo blue. But when we add the white, you're gonna see what type of purple that is a little better, especially on camera. Get a better view. Lovely purple. So that's phthalo red. Phthalo blue, red shade mixed with quinacridone crimson. So I am now going to try phthalo red's cousin, phthalo green, and see what the difference is going to be there. So same thing, I'm going to try equal volume of these colors. I mean, you just have to eyeball it. You don't have to get your scale out or anything. Okay, maybe a little bit more of the red. I'm going to mix that again really, really well. Okay, so this is what's interesting. I mixed equal volume. Would you say, Claire, equal volume?
Yeah.
Okay. Look how different this looks. It looks so blue to me. So here's the deal. This is a very, very strong tinting strength color. And because it didn't have any red undertone in it like this did, we actually have to compensate for the strength of the phthalo blue-green shade by adding a lot more of this quinacridone crimson to get more of a purple shade. By the way, I'm going to show you in a later video how to use these two colors and yellow to make a black, but you can see how we're almost close to black. It's such a rich, dark color. So I'm going to add more crimson in. So I've added a lot more crimson in order to even get a purple close to the one that happened. So here's the deal. There's no recipes. It's all about you spending time with your palette, with your colors, and giving yourself time. I mean, I think color mixing is one of the most fun things you can do. So enjoy the process. Be patient with yourself. Don't worry if you don't get it the first time. Just keep trying. So even though I would say by now, Claire's here with me, don't you think I added like 3 times the amount of crimson?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it's still, the blue is overpowering the crimson. And that's just something to know in general. This is a very popular color, phthalo blue-green shade. It just overtakes colors. So you always start with a very tiny amount. I'm still trying to get to a purple closer to what we got with the phthalo blue red shade. And I'm not going to, I call this the color trail because often when you're trying to get a shade and you have a big pile of color and then you add a little bit more and suddenly you have this ginormous pile of color and you still haven't gotten it. So right now I'm just going to try mixing a little bit over here. And now I would say we have maybe 75% quinacridone crimson and 20% of the phthalo blue in this pile, as opposed to over there, which was more like half and half or something, or 3 times, I don't know. What did we decide? Anyway, so I'm feeling like if you look at my undertone, it's a lot closer to a purple than a blue purple. So I am going to add the white to it so you can compare the two. And, ooh, I love this one. It's kind of a plummy, maybe, plummy purple. And this is more kind of lavender. And it makes sense. All right, so next we get to mix ultramarine blue with quinacridone crimson. These guys. And we're going to scoot over here. Okay. So I'm going to take, well, now I don't have an equal amount here. I think I took too much red. Let's see what happens. I can always add more blue in. See what happens. Now, this is where I'm going to start to introduce Michelle's special secret that helps me. I never hear anyone talking about this. But when I mixed initially the ultramarine blue, this color, with a cadmium red, both of those colors are more on the opaque spectrum. And that is one of the reasons why you get that kind of muddy, more brown effect. Whereas when you mix these 3 colors are more on the transparent side of the spectrum. I'm going to show you where you can learn more about that, but I am going to make a whole video for you, so definitely subscribe so you get notified when that one comes out, because it's so important for so many aspects of painting, for glazing, for stain painting, understanding which colors are transparent, which are opaque, which are translucent, and why it matters, and how to figure it out is really important info for color, for understanding color. I love this purple. This is a beautiful purple. It's very plummy. You see a little of the undertone there, right? Let's add in some of our titanium white and get a better look at how this color compares with the other ones. That's a lovely purple. There's so many purples to know in the world. Oh, I love all three of them. I love all three of them, but definitely this was interesting because I had more red, and you can see this is a warmer purple. So just to be fair to everybody, I am going to go and add a little bit more of this, because I remember I said start with the same equal volume. Not that that will get you to an exact center purple. We learned here that it didn't, but it'll teach you about the tinting strength of your colors. You have to work with color a lot to know it. Again, learning about painting is about spending time with it. There's not a formulas you can memorize. You're not going to get this just by watching me. You're going to get it by doing it yourself. So I added more of the blue to this section here, and just to see if I could get it a little bit away from the red purple and a little bit cooler, slightly cooler, also a lovely shade. So many lovely purples. I hope this is helpful to you. So there is our ultramarine blue and quinacridone crimson mixed. Now we're gonna mix with one of my favorite old pals, alizarin crimson, which is another red. I used it a lot more when I did many years of oil painting. It's something I rarely use for acrylics, but since this video works for oil painting and acrylics, let's use alizarin crimson. So we're gonna also do the same equal amount by volume, and we still have in this position, we still have our friend phthalo blue red shade, and we'll mix that. Oh boy, did I do equal amount? I think that looks pretty equal, maybe a smidge more of the blue. So remember, equal amount by volume is how I like to start out, just so I learn about my colors, I get to know them better. And what do you guys think? I'm not quite done mixing this, but does it feel like it's skewing more red or more blue? And I might have to add the white for you to really be able to tell that. So again, there's the tint by adding white, and then this is called the undertone. When I scrape that down, no, that wasn't a very good job of scraping down. See the undertone? Okay, so I actually think it's a pretty even balance. I don't think it's a super red purple, and I don't think it's a very blue purple. I think using for these two colors equal amounts by volume worked pretty well. So now we're going to go in and we're going to add some of the titanium white. Again, that's called a tint. When you add white to a color, it's called a tint. And here's another purple. Whoops, I didn't super duper mix that. As you saw, there was a big swatch of alizarin. So there you go. Another kind of lavendery hue, heathery lavendery, I don't know.
It's more muted.
Yeah, definitely more muted, huh? Okay, so now we're going to take the same alizarin and pair her with bachelor number 2, phthalo blue green shade. So I am, by the way, rinsing my knife in between these so I have very clean, clear mixes for you. And we were talking about this off camera. I'm using a large volume of paint. Do not be alarmed. I am doing this so that you can see large swatches on your phone of these colors and get a better picture of what's happening. So here we go. Are we equal amounts by volume? What happened last time? What do you think is going to happen with this phthalo blue green shade? Are we going to have an evenly balanced with equal amounts of alizarin crimson and phthalo blue green shade? Going to have an equally balanced purple, or will we have a purple skewing to the blue side like we did prior when we mixed with quinacridone crimson and phthalo blue green shade? By the way, a shortcut if you're writing these down is to put GS next to phthalo blue for green shade and RS for red shade. Okay, so once again, equal amounts by volume, but that phthalo blue, to my eyes, has really taken over the mixture. This purple has a much more blue undertone. Okay, I didn't mix this area very well. All right, so what I'm going to do to try and balance this out is add some more of the alizarin crimson, so I have a more balanced purple. Okay, by the way, you make the purple that you like. I'm just showing you kind of more color theory stuff, but if you're painting, you know, something that is this dark color, or you just have a hankering for a very dark bluish purple, you stop there. I mean, this is all about you getting the color you want, but I'm trying to teach sort of more color theory and how to understand your colors. But there's no wrong purple. There's no perfect purple. There are just an infinite amount of purple shades that can be mixed. Okay, that's looking more balanced to me. What do you think, Claire? Are we balanced?
That's a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
There's more purple undertone.
Yeah. So we'll do the We'll do that undertone again, just so you can see. Scrape this guy down. Compare the two. See how blue that went. And he's already taken over ultramarine blue's mixing spot. Sorry, we'll get to you. Okay, so now we are going to mix our tint, adding in a generous amount of titanium white, and you can learn a little more about this mixture. Yeah, that's definitely, so we're going to compare these later for you side by side, so stay tuned for that, so you can see what the difference between using quinacridone to mix your purples and alizarin crimson, just so you know. But I wanted you to get a variety of purples, and depending on what you have in your painting kit already, just to be able to compare and know that different reds and different blues will naturally make different purples. Okay, so our friend Ultramarine has been patiently waiting for his turn. And let's see here. Okay, so this is very interesting to me. Once again, the red is dominating in this mixture, even though we did the same amount by volume of ultramarine and alizarin crimson. We've got a very reddish purple. It's a lovely hue. I like it very much. But I think for the purposes of understanding color strength and for mixing a more balanced, when I say balanced, I mean equal, not leaning towards red or blue, but having a fairly equal balance of red and blue in the mix, that we are going to have to add some more ultramarine blue into this mixture so that we can make it skew less red and more equal. Okay, there we go. You see that? You see that already with the undertone? We're a lot more equal. It might even be a little bit too blue. What do you think, Claire? We got a pretty equal?
Yeah.
Do you think it's maybe a bit more blue? Maybe we should just add a dab more of the redder mixture.
See what it does.
Yeah.
We're experimenting.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I'm liking this one too. Okay. Now I'm looking back at this and it's like, it's really kind of a grayish lavender, isn't it? You know, I see people use that a lot in home decor. Claire knows I've been watching a lot of my new favorite YouTuber, what is it, Alexandra Gator. She uses this kind of lavendery purple a lot. Maybe not quite that color, but something similar. Okay, so here's our white. Now we've shown you 6 different purples. And the next thing we're going to do is show you a pre-mixed purple. Okay, so now we have a pre-mixed purple. And this particular one I brought for you is my friend Quinacridone Blue Violet. It's a gorgeous color. But I would say when you're starting out, I truly recommend that you start with fewer colors and mix your own purple. Mostly, not only because I want you to learn about colors and tinting strengths and how they work together, but also because it will be a lot easier to create harmony in your painting the fewer colors you use. It takes a lot more skill to bring in crazy colors like fluorescent pink and so forth into, say, a more traditional mineral-based palette. So pick 3 to 6 colors, 2 reds, 2 yellows, 2 blues, and do your mixing from that. And then when you feel really confident with that, then go ahead and try these pre-mixed. And it's not even a pre-mix. This is a single pigment color. We're gonna need to talk about that in another video, pre-mixed colors versus single pigment colors, but we'll get to that later. Just for now, know that you can go ahead and buy a purple if you want, but if you're a beginning painter, I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend mixing your own. So let's look at our friend Quinacridone Blue Violet. I'm going to spread them out there. And as you can see, to me, this is much skewing more red compared to how we did those really even purples. Okay, now we're going to make our tint. Now that we've seen that warm undertone, we're going to make our tint using titanium white. And we'll get to know a little bit more about our friend, our new friend, quinacridone. I love this color. It's lovely. It's got a strong, nice saturation, nice vibrance, even when you mix it into a tint. So we can compare that pre-mixed store-bought quinacridone Blue Violet to our other homemade mixtures. And you just kind of get a sense of all the different options for purple you have for mixing or store-bought. Okay, so remember I talked to you, I want to lean into this a little bit. I talked to you about my most useful color mixing hack. I just briefly touched upon it earlier in the video, and that is being aware of which colors are transparent and which colors are opaque. And I have a free downloadable PDF file that you can get. The link is below, and that will really help you a lot if you do glazing, if you do watercolor technique, if you do stain painting. Knowing which colors are transparent, opaque will really help you. For those techniques that I just mentioned, glazing, stain painting, and so forth, you're going to want to lean into the transparent colors. But just to recap, what I said is when we were mixing those purples, the more you use 2 opaques mixed together, the more you will get a muddy mixture, which isn't bad. Some of us like those earthy, kind of mysterious, murky colors. There's nothing wrong. But if you're looking for more clarity, more saturation, more vibrancy, then use more transparent colors when you're mixing. And we're gonna talk about that more later when I get into, I'm gonna make a whole video to describe a little bit more how this came about, why colors are transparent, why some are opaque, and why just adding water in doesn't make an opaque color transparent. We're gonna get into that later. So make sure you're subscribed for these cool upcoming videos. We're gonna mix all the colors. We're gonna mix orange, and we're gonna do green. We're gonna mix up black. So stay tuned for more. I'm so glad you're here, and happy painting.